Hello everyone. What would you do if a god handed you a golden axe? Our story today is about a simple man who faced that exact choice and what it cost him. Long ago in a small village at the edge of a great forest there lived a woodcutter. His house was made of rough timber with a roof that leaked when it rained. He owned no land and kept no animals. His clothes were patched in 3 places and his shoes were thin as paper. Every morning before the sun came up he would eat a dry piece of bread and drink cold water from the well. Then he would pick up his only valuable thing, an old iron axe. The axe was not pretty. Its blade was dark with age and its wooden handle was cracked near the top. But the woodcutter kept it sharp with a flat stone from the river. He worked from dawn until his arms ached and his back burned. He cut branches and split logs and stacked them into neat bundles. Then he would walk 5 miles to the market square and sell them for a few copper coins. Those coins bought more bread and sometimes a small fish if he was lucky. He never had extra money. He never took what was not his. People who knew him said the man had an honest face. They trusted him with their goods while they went to fetch water. Children liked him because he always had a kind word. Life was hard, but he found small joys in the shade of a tall tree and the sound of birds in the morning. One afternoon in late summer the woodcutter went to a part of the forest he did not visit often. The trees there were older and the river ran deeper and darker. He found a thick dead tree leaning over the water. It was perfect for firewood. He climbed onto a large flat rock at the edge and raised his axe. Swing after swing he chopped into the dry wood. The sound echoed across the river. Sweat dripped from his forehead into his eyes. He blinked and wiped his face with his sleeve. He was tired and his hands were slippery. He lifted the axe high one more time and brought it down with all his strength. But his fingers lost their grip. The heavy iron head pulled the handle right out of his hands. The axe flew in a wide arc and landed with a deep splash far out in the river. He watched it sink. The dark water swallowed it without a sound. He stood frozen on the rock. His mind went blank for a long moment. Then the truth hit him hard. His only tool was gone. The thing that fed him and kept him alive was at the bottom of that cold river. He tried to wade in, but the bank dropped off sharply and he could not swim. The water was too deep. He stumbled back to the shore and sank down onto a fallen log. Tears ran down his dusty cheeks. He did not cry loudly. He just sat there with his head in his hands and let the tears fall. This was not fair. He had done nothing wrong. He had worked every day of his life. And now he had nothing. A long time passed. Maybe an hour. Maybe more. The sun moved lower and the forest grew quiet. Then the water in front of him began to change. It swirled slowly at first. Then a soft light rose from below like the glow of a lantern under a silk cloth. The woodcutter lifted his head and stared. The light grew brighter and the surface broke open without a splash. A figure rose from the river and stood upon the water as if it were solid ground. It was a young man with bright eyes and a calm smile. He wore a simple white tunic that seemed to float around him. In his hand he held a golden staff with two small wings at the top. This was Hermes, the messenger of the gods, the one who moved between worlds. Hermes looked down at the crying man and tilted his head. His voice was soft but clear like a bell heard from far away. "Mortal, why do you sit here and weep? This is a quiet place and your sorrow disturbs the birds." The woodcutter wiped his nose on his sleeve and tried to speak. His voice cracked at first. "My axe, sir. It fell into the river. It is gone, and I cannot get it back. That axe was all I had. Without it I cannot work. Without work I cannot eat. I have lost everything." He did not ask for help. He did not beg for a miracle. He just told the truth because that was the only thing he knew how to do. Hermes listened without moving. He watched the man's face. Then he simply nodded and dove into the water. He vanished under the surface and the river closed over him without a ripple. The woodcutter waited. His heart pounded in his chest. He did not know what to expect. A moment later Hermes rose again. In his right hand he held an axe made entirely of gold. It shone with a fierce light that hurt to look at. The blade was flawless and the handle was carved with delicate patterns of leaves and vines. Even the woodcutter, who knew little of wealth, could see that this one axe was worth more than the whole village. Hermes held it out. "Is this your axe?" The woodcutter looked at the golden thing. For a few heartbeats he was silent. In his mind he saw a new life. He saw warm clothes and a full stomach. He saw a new roof that did not leak. He saw himself never having to swing an axe again. All he had to do was say yes. One small word. A simple lie. Who would know? Hermes was a god, but maybe he would not see inside a man's heart. The woodcutter opened his mouth and the word almost came out. But then he stopped. Something inside him held it back. He remembered the faces of the villagers who trusted him. He remembered how his mother told him long ago that a man's word was his only true belonging. He closed his eyes and shook his head. "No. That is not my axe. My axe is made of iron. It is old and plain." Hermes did not react. His face stayed calm and kind. He set the golden axe on the riverbank and dove again. The woodcutter stared at the gold axe lying next to him. It was real. He could touch it. But he kept his hands in his lap. Soon Hermes returned with a second axe. This one was silver. It gleamed with a cool white light like the moon on fresh snow. The handle was wrapped in soft leather and the blade was thin and sharp. It was not as grand as the gold, but still a treasure beyond anything the woodcutter had ever owned. "Is this your axe?" Hermes asked again. This time the woodcutter did not hesitate. The silver was beautiful, but it was not his. He had carried his iron axe for 10 years. He knew every scratch and every dent. He knew where the handle was smooth from his grip and where it was rough from wear. He knew the sound it made when it bit into dry oak. The silver axe was a stranger. "No. My axe is not silver. It is iron. Dark and heavy and true." Hermes smiled a little. Just a small curve of his lips. He placed the silver axe beside the golden one and went under the water a third time. The woodcutter waited longer this time. The river seemed to hold its breath. When Hermes came up, he was holding something that looked like a piece of scrap. An old iron axe with a rusty blade and a cracked wooden handle. There was a chip missing from the top edge where the woodcutter had hit a stone last winter. The leather wrapping near the head was loose and frayed. To anyone else it would look like junk. But the woodcutter jumped to his feet. His face broke into a wide smile and fresh tears spilled down his cheeks. "Yes. Yes. That one. That is my axe. That is the one." He laughed and cried at the same time. He reached out his hands like a child reaching for a lost toy. Hermes stepped onto the bank and placed the iron axe in the woodcutter's hands. The man hugged it to his chest. He did not care that it was wet and dirty. It was his. It was his life. Hermes looked at the 3 axes lying on the ground. Gold, silver, and iron. Then he looked at the woodcutter. "You have told the truth 3 times. You chose your own simple tool over wealth and comfort. That is a rare thing among mortals. Because of your honest heart, I give you all 3 axes. The gold and the silver are yours to keep. Sell them and live well. But always remember that your true wealth is not in the metal. It is in the man who held it and did not lie." The woodcutter fell to his knees. He tried to thank Hermes, but the god was already gone. The water was still again and the light faded. Only the 3 axes remained. The woodcutter walked home as the sun set. His arms were full. In his left hand he held his old iron axe. In his right he carried gold and silver. People in the village saw him coming and could not believe their eyes. They gathered around and he told them the whole story. He did not make himself a hero. He just told the truth again. Some people smiled and clapped him on the back. Others walked away shaking their heads. A few went to the river that very night hoping to find Hermes. But the water stayed dark and no god appeared. You see, Hermes does not come for people who are looking for gold. He comes for people who are looking for the truth. What about you? When no one is watching and a lie would make your life so much easier, what do you choose? The easy path or the right one? This old story reminds us of something we often forget. Honesty does not always pay right away. Sometimes it costs you. Sometimes it hurts. But over time it builds a foundation that gold cannot buy and silver cannot replace. It builds trust. It builds a name that people remember. That is the real axe. The one you carry inside. It may look old and plain, but it is yours. And when the river takes it from you, keep telling the truth. It will come back sharper than before. See you in the next story.
能以非母语者的身份专注学习到现在，这本身就是很棒的进步。真诚感谢你的观看。如果你觉得本期内容实用，点赞或留言让我知道你的想法，这对我持续创作非常重要。我们下期见。